Well, few sporting rivalries in this city stir the blood like this fixture. And tonight, the latest chapter of the Sydney Derby is about to be played out at a sold-out CommBank Stadium. The ingredients, in truth, have been there right from the start. The battling West against the affluent East, the hodgepodge of western suburbs fused together versus the picture postcard version of the harbour city. There are crossovers, of course, but the geography of this place has made it a natural rivalry. So much so that Wanderers fans once held up placards of their postcodes to remind the world they are as much a part of this place as the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge. The Wanderers, the early rags to riches story that culminated in the most unlikely of Asian triumphs, but largely in the doldrums since. Sydney FC, domestic dominance for many years, not quite able to crack it on the international stage. It is almost exactly 12 years to the day since Western Sydney Wanderers and Sydney FC first locked horns. Then it was Shinji Ono and Alessandro Del Piero who were the star attractions. Tonight it's Juan Mata and Douglas Costa. The two squads made up of players hailing from countries such as Bulgaria, Spain, Sweden, South Korea, England, Brazil, Morocco and Poland. But none need telling that it's the pride of this city at stake here tonight. Sydney have held sway in the last two derbies, but this reshaped Wanderers desperate to lay down a marker here this evening. Let hostilities resume. It is the 38th Sydney Derby. Red and black at one end, sky blue at the other. Here's how the Wanderers line up. They had A-League debuts to goalkeeper Tristan Vidakovic, with regular keeper Lawrence Thomas sidelined with an ankle problem, Korean defender Jong Tae-wook, and there's a starting debut for former Central Coast Mariners junior Aidan Hammond. Zach Sapsford and Brandon Borrello are paired together in attack, Borrello assuming the captaincy, and there are several new signings on the bench: Ben Holiday, Dean Pelikanos, Bozidar Kraev, Jordan Holmes, and of course marquee man Juan Mata, whose father has travelled all the way from Spain to watch him here tonight. 5 debutants for the Sky Blues: Alexander Popovic, who's on loan from Guangzhou, the Moroccan Anas Wahim, ex-Celtic striker Patrick Klimala, and the two Brazilians Leo Senna in midfield, and on the wing 31 times capped Douglas Costa. Ryan Grant leads the team in his 31st Sydney Derby. Backup keeper Harrison Devonish-Mears returns on the pine after illness ruled him out of the trip to the Philippines to play Kaya. Well, what an atmosphere inside CommBank Stadium. The sold-out signs went up earlier on today, and thankfully the rain that's been pretty prevalent in New South Wales, certainly this part of it over the last 48 hours, has cleared to a large degree. The Wanderers fans with their giant tifo away to our left, and the Sydney FC fans packed in away to our right. Coupled with the scenes in Auckland earlier on today, sights for sore eyes in terms of the Isuzu UTE A-League men's competition. And there is Douglas Costa, who no doubt has put a few bums on seats tonight. Wanderers marquee man Juan Mata will start the game at least watching on from the bench. There he is, a World Cup winner with Spain back in 2010, and the Euros 2 years later to boot. Our referee tonight is Alex King, last year's grand final referee. Danny Robinson and Andrew Lindsay running the lines. Tim Danaskos, the fourth official. Daniel Elder leading the VAR team. That's Anthony Caceres of Sydney FC, whose wife Helen once played for the Western Sydney Wanderers in what was then called the W League, of course. So battle set to commence in Sydney's West. Sydney FC have the slight edge in terms of the overall fixtures, 17 wins to the Wanderers 11, with 9 draws. There's a Puctello, who's got a new assistant this season after David Strilic, of course, departed to lead Perth. John Maisano is his new number 2. Alan Stadgett was Sydney FC women's coach for 6 years, and in the old W League he won all 5 derbies against the Wanderers. Is he the man to finally restore the red and black to greatness? And game number 130 with the whistle for Alex King from Queensland, one of the competition's most experienced officials. So Sydney FC and Sky Blue kick us off. Derby day in Sydney, always a great occasion. Let's hope the match lives up to the billing, Andy Harper.
As we always do, good evening, Simon, and to all our viewers enjoying the opening weekend of the Isuzu UTE A-League men's competition.
Now the Wanderers looking to get an early break there, but a little bit of confusion.
Welcoming a new team into the comp. Great start for Auckland, the Black Knights, under their new coach, former Sydney man, Stevie Corica, and then we get here tonight after City have done over Newcastle away from home. It's now Wanderers and Sydney. Set to lock horns, big names, good preparations. This one should be good.
Sydney FC in himself a throw on that far right-hand side of the pitch. Ryan Grant to take, now wearing the captain's armband after the departure of Luke Bratton during the off-season. Jabbed out by Joe Lolly in the weighing vicinity of Jordan Courtney-Perkins. Popovic. And it flicks off the head of Joe Lolly, who looks as though he might have landed a little bit awkwardly there. Of course, he missed the finals last year, Joe Lolly, with injury. Sydney's so glad to have him back. And the big question, I guess, is how does this very much reworked Western Sydney Wanderers go this season, Harps? Sydney FC perhaps a slightly more predictable proposition, although they've got a few new names as well.
Yeah, and so when you say predictable, they've started well, so the expectations are high. Talo has recruited. There's a wonderful collection of players. We haven't seen much of the Wanderers, knocked out in the Cup. New players have arrived. Of course, Alan Stadgett getting his feet under the table and setting things up the way he wants. A very, very important start for the Wanderers here tonight.
And particularly because they're at home. Their home form was a massive problem last season. 7 home matches without a win since they defeated MacArthur here on New Year's Day. So that's perhaps priority number 1. A win over their biggest rivals here would be a good way to kick things off, but Sydney will have other ideas, of course. Raheem losing out. And Borrello looking to release Jack Clisby on the left. Grant scampering across to try and keep pace with him. That's going to be a Wanderers corner.
Yeah, it's a great burst from Borrello in the first instant. And then when Jack Clisby became available down the left-hand side, he showed a great stride and some really good speed early in the game. Look at him go. Ryan Grant really pinning the ears back, trying to catch Clisby, which he does in the end. Only to concede the corner, of course.
Now, after 3 minutes of the last derby here at Parramatta, Sydney scored at this end of the ground from a corner. Ryan Grant that day. This time it's the Wanderers with the set-piece opportunity. Way back through Dylan Shikluna, who hangs it up intelligently towards Brandon Borrello, who makes himself half a yard and fires in the opening salvo. Andrew Redmayne had the angles covered.
Well, so important for the now captain of the Wanderers, Brandon Borrello, that he gets going for himself. He was starting nicely last year, and injury then curtailed his campaign. He's couple of good moments to get things going here. The Wanderers on the front foot.
High press, paying dividends from the goal kick. Jack Clisby about to deliver the throw. Well, and Scott's in his second stint with the Wanderers. Hammond's trying to wriggle clear of a clutch of sky blue players. Sydney come away with the ball and looking to launch a counter. Courtney Perkins the option, or at least he was, for Caceres. It's the return off Wahim. Open try in the end from Leo Senna. He's the defensive midfielder, but not shy to chance his arm early on in the derby.
Opened up nicely for him. He's been impressive too in his early days as a Sydney player.
Came off Grant, Ivich losing out. Ahead of Brillante. Steadied down by Bonatic. Turn back to 21-year-old debutant Tristan Vidakovic. Not that he's a greenhorn completely. He's been overseas in the 4th division in Portugal. Of course, the injury to Lawrence Thomas has opened the door. Stajic has got 4 goalkeepers on his books. Thomas, Tiger Harper, Jordan Holmes, but it's Vidakovic who's got the nod tonight. He is a giant of a man, 6'6". So you can imagine that he would be commanding in his area from set-piece situations. Here is Courtney Perkins. Anas Wahim, new Moroccan import. Courtney Perkins in position for the return. Twisting hither and thither, and a chance at the near post. And it's fired into the side netting by Joe Lolly.
A nice start from Sydney. Break with speed, but then when the game and the attack has to settle down, they're very measured. Nice pass and move. Players reasonably close to each other, reduces the margin for error in the passing. And Joe Lolly with an early match scare with a calf or ankle. He bobs up in the penalty area. Shot skewing wide, but a nice passage of play from Sydney.
Yet to score in the derby, Joe Lolly, despite all those goals that he's delivered for Sydney over the last couple of seasons. Trying to anticipate that ball for Courtney Perkins. That's a good touch by Wahim. Caceres went with the outside of the boot, was the right idea. And Bonatic was there for the Wanderers. Had a real breakthrough campaign last season, Alex Bonatic. He's had learned an awful lot from the now departed Marcelo, who leaves a big gap defensively for the Wanderers. Costa shows a glimpse of the skills that has brought him 3 Bundesliga and 3 Serie A titles during his days in Europe. Leo Senna looking to combine with his compatriot, that's a little too strong. Caceres. Popovic. Nice turn around the corner by Costa. Courtney Perkins went early. Here's Patrick Klimala. His first touch was pretty good, but immediately shut down by Alex Bonatic, and he had to be from a Wanderers point of view.
Good recovery defensively from Bonatic. Perhaps rushed it a little bit. Klimala, wonderful play from Sydney to set that opportunity up, and under a bit of siege have been the Western Sydney Wanderers, but they get a chance now.
Nathan Matthews ensuring it's not a chance but a throw.
It's a beautiful ball in behind. Romantic reacts nicely. That's a more than adequate touch. Perhaps just rushed things a little bit, but he's certainly one to watch. The Sydney number 9, I'm expecting, based on the morsels we've seen so far, for him to have a big impact on this competition.
He's looking to pinch the ball away from the Wanderers there. Patrick Klimala once cost Celtic £3.5 million. Wanderers have got a bit of a problem here with Zach Sapsford, who's only ever scored 2 A-League goals during his fledgling career, and both of them have been against Sydney FC in the derby, which is where he started his career, of course. Oh yeah, a little bit of friendly fire there. Ouch, that hurts. Coaches talk about forging strike partnerships. I don't think that's what he meant. How this compares to the many and varied football experiences Juan Mata has enjoyed during a lengthy and hugely successful career, most notably, of course, with Chelsea and with Manchester United in England, but also with the Spanish national team. Looks as though he's enjoying himself. Off the head of Kleur. Too heavy off the boot of Josh Brillante. Notice the 2 goalkeepers are wearing the number 0 on their backs tonight. It's part of the Wanderers' partnership with Transport for New South Wales, as the state aims for 0 deaths on the roads. Good initiative. Risky ball. Sliding in was Dong-Tae Wook. First player from South Korea we've had in the competition in 4 years, halves. Which was a bit of a surprise when I saw that. Had some good ones down the year in the league. Swahim manages to bounce away from his opponent. Pass was behind Klimala. He is such a talent, isn't he, Anas Swahim? Barello, Hammond, and Clisby. Brillante with time to turn. Bandage quite on the same page as his teammates. Sapsford up against Matthews is a contest to keep an eye on tonight. Clisby looking to float one over the top, and Barello's got the jump on the defenders, but his touch let him down at the crucial moments. And that one stuck. That might have been a good opening for the Wanderers.
They've been under a lot of pressure, Western Sydney, not so much around their penalty area, there's been a couple of times, but just generally when Sydney getting into the flow, the Wanderers are finding it difficult to stem that flow. Nevertheless, on 2 or 3 occasions when they've had the ball, they've been pretty direct and they've come very close to getting in behind the Sydney defence. Brendan Burlow's touch just letting him down there, otherwise he would have been eyeballing Andrew Redmayne in the Sydney goal.
This is Leo Senna, Costa. Defending from Dylan Shakluda, who's been away on international duty in recent weeks with the Maltese under-21 team. Leo Senna. Matthews. Touched by Grant. Steal by Shakluda. There's a bit of space here for Milanovic. The ball was just fractionally behind him, which held him up. Sapsford's looking for the diagonal, and Gabriel Cler's onto it, looking to loop it towards the back post, and it's cleared off the line by Alexander Popovic. To deny Aidan Hammond the opening goal in the derby. It was a move that looked to have broken down.
Yeah, but again, this is just apropos the last point made. When they've had the chance, they've been very direct, quick on that break. The closest either team has come to breaking the duck here. Sapsford, nice switch of play. There's a teasing touch from Gabriel Cler, and the Wanderers just couldn't finish off what was a more than serviceable chance to take the lead here. Aidan Hammond, pivotal in that attack in the centre circle to start with, and then burst forward. Well done from the Wanderers. Good scrambling from Sydney.
Oh, Stajic was almost half celebrating a goal there. That's how close it was for the Wanderers. Taywalk losing out to his opposite number, Anas Wahib. Joe Lolly can have a go here. He's claiming a touch and a corner, but Alex King not interested.
Well, John Taywalk is a big centre half, and the big career that's brought him here, but he cannot be losing heading duels like he just did against Wahib, who probably comes up to his sternum.
6'5", John Taywalk, signed on loan from John Book Motors. Offside here against Klamala. Big chance for Joe Lolly. Needs to set himself. Scores in the corner. His first goal in the derby. And look what that means to the travelling Sky Blue fans. Sydney in front on 16 minutes.
Well, it wasn't the direct attack where I think John Taywalk let the team down. The ball should have been cleared before the restart. And then on the Harvey Norman replay, Sydney just bouncing the ball one to the other. Klamala to Lolly, still with players around him and the ball not settling. The Wanderers' defence just hesitated, and it was a fatal hesitation.
Well, the Wanderers can't say that they weren't warned. And Joe Lolly finally has a goal against Western Sydney Wanderers. And 3/4 of the stadium full silence. The sea of sky blue away to our right in raptures. The Wanderers, can they hit back straight away? Milanovic was offside and let it go. And it's set nicely for Zach Sapsford. And he got right underneath it.
Clearly offside and affecting the play by that position there, I'd say.
Yeah, that would have been interesting had Sapsford put the ball in the top corner. Sydney FC would have been asking a lot of questions. Well, successive derby wins for Sydney FC, 3 out of the last 4. They've given themselves a really good start here in Parramatta. Luna looked as though it might have been an arm in use there, confirmed by Alex King. And by the way, we talked about this being very much a reworked Wanderers team, so I'm not sure how much you can read into this, but when Wanderers conceded the first goal in a game last season, which happened on 14 occasions, they didn't win any of them. Here's Lolly, who's given Sydney FC that advantage. Looking to turn provider for Klamala. He'll come out here for Koss, who didn't really get hold of it. And flicked off the head of Clisby and out for a throw.
It's got to get really tight together now, the Wanderers. They've got to get nice and compact. to see this very real Sydney threat away before the score doubles. They're looking ominous, the visitors. Wanderers again, I mean, they have looked dangerous on the counter-attack. The direct style of attack has looked really impressive, and before the goal they'd had their own best chance to score.
Here's Klimala. Well, that was so close to being two. Combining with Anas Wahim, the two imports, very nearly double Sydney's money.
Well, again, on the near post, he's just bumped out of the way. Again, John Tae-wook. It's not what I was expecting. And here's the attack to which I referred before. John Tae-wook again. That to make a statement as a Wanderers centre-half, game one against Sydney FC. You've got to leave the ground and you've got to belt the ball so that Wahim doesn't come within your postcode next time.
Dylan Chicluna all over the back of Leo Senna. Perhaps from the Wanderers' point of view, not a bad foul to give away, because Sydney were on the march once again. Chicluna was having none of it. Maybe a little fortunate he didn't pick up a yellow card for that. Just a foul, which is the Wanderers' fourth of the game. Sydney yet to register. Senna still feeling the after effects. It's a fair way out. Probably the best part of 30 metres. Douglas Costa might fancy this. We shall see. He's going to have a go, Douglas Costa, and it was moving a bit in the air. Pushed away by Vidakovic. Plenty of power. Well,
in the end, gratefully so from Vidakovic. I think that was swirling around a bit. Costa hit it nicely. Vidakovic, two hands, fists locked. Just beat the ball away to safety.
Courtney Perkins. Tackles flying in typical Derby fashion. And Klimala left a bit in on Chicluna. Maybe a bit of afters for that foul on Leo Senna, and Chicluna's still down, but Sydney having to backtrack. Redmayne will come out together. And that might just be a little flashpoint that's will lead to this derby getting a little bit heated yet. And Alex King has not forgotten that challenge by Patrick Klimala, who becomes the first booking of the derby. Let's go down to Neve Owens whilst we watch the replay of Douglas Costa here on the near side. Neve.
Simon, where would you rather be? What an atmosphere here at Combank Stadium. The RBB unveiled the banner at the start, rivals on the field, unrivalled off it. But I'll tell you what, the Cove have been in full voice tonight as well. And why not? With the beautiful play that they've seen from their Sky Blues side. A sight to behold, and a big signing, a big part of it.
Thanks, Neve. That's the midway point of the first half. Confirmation of that yellow ticket for the striker from Poland.
Well, the game set nicely, Simon, and Talle's team, Sydney, have already earned this reputation, well founded, of course, for his dedication to a team that presses high and up the field at almost every opportunity. And to counter that, Alan Stagic's team, when they win possession, are looking forward to getting the ball forward as quickly as they can over the top. That's an awkward one.
Yeah, that's not a pretty looking challenge from Alexander Popovic, and there's some afters with Milanovic, and Alex King is going to take a moment and just view exactly what's going on here. But I fancy there's going to be, at the very least, a yellow card for Alexander Popovic, who got really tangled up with Zach Sapsford. I just sensed a couple of moments ago that little foul by Klimala, which led to the yellow card, was going to heat things up a wee bit. Alex King is pretty calm and composed in these situations. He's been here 100 times before, of course. Yellow card for Popovic for the tackle and for the retaliation for Milanovic. VAR, of course, can look at these. He's gone scything right through the back of Sapsford. It's a pretty ugly challenge.
It hasn't shown a lot of regard.
Here's Shikluna with Swahili nipping at his heels. Milanovic, who opted to stay with the Wanderers despite some reported interest from Europe during the off-season. Says one of his goals this season is to get into the Socceroos squad. Good campaign last time around. He was joint top scorer along with the now departed Lockie Brook with 9 goals. Caceres. Loose ball favouring Morello, but only briefly. It's a real scrap for possession. In the end, the whistle goes in the way, or of the way of the Wanderers.
Very keenly contested, and the Wanderers are giving as good as they're getting. And it was that moment, just a few moments in defence, consecutive efforts to defend, where their defence just wasn't aggressive enough, and they've paid the penalty. Equilibrium to some extent has been restored here.
It's tidy work from Gabriel Kleur to release Nicholas Milanovic, who will look to link up with any one of 5 attackers, make that 6 with Brillante joining in. Now Clisby. And trying to set himself on his pocket picked. Klimala can make no further progress, and the Wanderers fans encouraged. Brillante. Nothing ball from the Wanderers midfielder. Ryan Grant with the throw. Grant where he once scored a grand final winner for Sydney FC. It's Melbourne City. Forward by Dylan Shikluna. Kept in play by Courtney Perkins, but straight at Kleur. Milanovic. Would have been tight for offside perhaps against Borrello. Lovely chest down by Klimala. Sydney switch from defence to attack. Full touch that by Bonneting. Clisby is surrounded by 3 Sydney players. Senna. Popovic. Caceres. Matthews down the line for Grant. Wahim in a little pocket of space. Sydney working this quite nicely, or at least they were. So good retrieval that by Douglas Costa. The pass wasn't the best. Lolly. Patient from Sydney FC. Matthews. Well, he went first time. Bonnetic there ahead of Wahim. Swahim, who was absolutely sensational off the bench in the second half of Sydney's Champions League 2 game against Kaya. Ian Douglas Costa really turned the game around for Sydney after they fell behind. It's another ball, and Douglas Costa says, come on, give me a chance.
Yeah, exactly. He's had a couple of nice touches. The links between the players are already impressive, but there have been 2 or 3 other opportunities for Sydney just to give him some clean possession, and they haven't been able to hit the right pass. And since going behind, and just to repeat, and this has been a really good contest for the most part, until the Wanderers stopped defending and Sydney pounced. Either side of that, Tallay's team has looked good. The Wanderers look steeled, and balance has been restored. But they cannot afford to go soft defensively. Sydney will punish them.
Chicluna. This ball to open it up for Clisby. Rolante. Wanderers have lost each of the last 3 home derbies. This win here, 2-0 was in March 2022. Of course, they have one at Allianz Stadium in the interim. And after half an hour here tonight, it's Joe Lolley's goal that divides the teams. Passing the midfield, and Clisby's onto it. Borrello, good first-time ball, Hammond in behind. And it just wasn't the sweetest of first touches. It will produce a corner, though.
It's great play from the Wanderers. You know, they've got a difficult job on their hands, but they've got a plan to unpick Sydney. And that is, rather than play through the Sydney press, it's play over the press and use the space in behind, and they've looked very, very dangerous.
Jack Clisby with a corner. Jong Tae-wook should be one of the targets at 6'5". Marcelo, of course, scored a few goals from set pieces last season. And it comes towards Borrello at the near post. And Redmayne happy to let the ball drop onto the top of the net.
Well, that's a free header for Brandon Borrello. He really should have done better there. Ball swinging in. Look at the 24. He leaps free and just doesn't get his head on it. Bounces off the shoulder. And then, I don't know, to save face maybe? Appeals for the corner was never close. But he's looking dangerous. Borrello, great to see him back in this sort of nick.
Another interesting stat with Brandon Borrello. I mentioned Joe Lolley had never scored in a derby. Brandon Borrello has never actually scored against Sydney FC in 15 games.
Well, if he keeps heading the ball with his shoulder, he's not likely to.
That's fair. Now by Aidan Hammond. Spent a portion of his junior career in Portugal with famous old name Belenenses. Perkins. Grant. That's Costa popping up on the right-hand side. Courtney Perkins as well. Almost inverted the whole team. Courtney Perkins it is who commits the foul. Dylan Chicluna has played a few different positions during his time with the Wanderers. Played at right back and left back last season, but he's more naturally at home where he is today in midfield. Stajic looking a little bit glum at the moment. Many have tried and most have failed since the departure of Tony Popovic to revitalise the red and black. His shoulders bear the responsibility this season. A bit of room here for Courtney Perkins, but he wasn't quick enough, or still might be, to get ahead of Gabriel Clore, who then lunged at Courtney Perkins to try and win the ball back, and that will be a yellow card as well. Now, Clore was favourite to win this.
Yeah, he blinked in the first instance, didn't he? Courtney Perkins beat him initially, and then as he's breaking away, it's an illegal lunge. It's a very athletic one, though, in defence of Gabriel Clore.
Two bookings for the Wanderers, two for Sydney. Sydney FC attacking the end of the ground where the red and black block are situated. Wahid and Costa discussing matters. It's going to be the outswinger from Douglas Costa. Ryan Grant got to it, and now Joe Lolly looking to bend it into that top corner. Never really looked likely.
No, it's a great chance for Sydney. Ryan Grant did really well to keep what looked like an overhit free kick in play. This is amazing space to have at your disposal when you're Joe Lolly, no less. Bit of an escape there for the Wanderers. Sloppy first touch from Joe Lolly, scorer of the goal that separates the teams, but couldn't oblige again.
That's a good advantage played by Alex King. There was a foul on Borello, but the Wanderers are away. Clisby's ball in, but Ryan Grant gets it to safety for Sydney. Good refereeing to let the game flow. Here's Clore. John Taylor providing the angle. Bonatig. 1-2 with Brillante. And the central defender injecting himself into the attack. Wide right is Milanovic. Wanderers building nicely. It's a good toe in that by Jordan Courtney Perkins. The Wanderers continue to have those moments.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing with great spirit. Sydney cannot, not that they would, but afford to take them lightly. Can't rest on the goals lead. It's been a really tight, enjoyable opening 37 minutes here in Parramatta.
Bonatig trying to stick tight to Klimala. Square by Matthews for Popovic. Two footballs on the pitch for a moment. Alex King playing ball boy as well as referee. Senna. Popovic. Courtney Perkins was just on his heels there. Hammond, good spin away from Senna. And rides the challenge, or at least he tried to, of Ryan Grant, who's going to join the list of names in Alex King's notebook.
Terrific turn out of trouble from Hammond, calculated from Ryan Grant. Sydney exposed again. I mean, this has been really impressive from the Wanderers as a game plan. Sydney have come in with their own reputation, even though it's been just pre-season and a couple of games in the Asian Champions League too. But they've shown enough to have sent the telegraph of what to expect, and the Wanderers have prepared well. They're hitting Sydney, or attempting to, where it hurts, and with some effect, it is a chance.
It's a really good steal by Wahid. Costa linking up with Lolly. It's behind Klimala. That little stumble allows Wanderers to recover and get back their defensive shape. player down at the moment. Anas Wahim, I think it is. No. Klamala.
Well, what a wonderful chance that was for Sydney with the steal in midfield. The press, the booby trap worked. And I guess in some senses, for the neutral Simon and the Sunday hacker, encouraging to see great players muck up a 4v2 situation.
Yeah, he just seemed to pull up as he tried to turn after that ball. Maybe a groin or hamstring injury. He's not moved for a minute or two since slumping down to the turf. Tallow perhaps already considering his bench. We shall see. He's got options, of course, the likes of Jadon Kucharski, Nathan Amanatidis, Adrian Segacic, all attacking players. So Klamala is very much his #1 striker after the departure of Fabio Gomez at the back end of last season. Let's see if he's good enough to continue. Good to go for now.
Yeah, at least to nurse it through maybe till half-time and get some more work done or more an inspection.
Right, granted, a head down the middle. That ball played a little earlier than it arrived from Redmayne, but Sydney still in good field position here. Lolly looking to attack Clisby. Shakluna back there to help. Lolly again. Crosses with the right peg, and they were queuing up there, the Sydney players, but needed better quality on the delivery from Lolly. Popovic to go long, looking for Klamala, who was all on his own inside the centre circle. Switch doesn't quite pay off. Three minutes to go before the break. It's been an absorbing half of football so far, but Sydney lead thanks to Joe Lolly. Grant. Wahim again, finding that space between the lines. Lolly. Wahim, little back heel, Lolly. Wanderers have got to try and keep it at 1 before the half-time break. Sydney going in search of a second. Back heel was rather unnecessary from Lolly. And the Wanderers have still presented the ball back to Sydney FC. Senna. Caceres. Senna. Nobody tracked the run of Anthony Caceres. Here's a chance. Anas Wahim. And the ball flashes wide of that left-hand upright. It almost seemed to take place in slow motion, that move.
That was a beautiful play, and one failure to track a runner opens for the graceful Caceres. Wahim lets the ball roll in front of him, which was expert. Finish wasn't, and it's a great chance for Sydney to go 2 up. Lovely football.
As we head towards towards the break. There's no doubt that Sydney have not only got the lead, but have also created the better opportunities. The Wanderers will look back on that one moment when Andrew Redmayne was beaten and Alexander Popovic had to clear off the line. Popovic guilty of holding, and he had a bit to say as well. He's on a yellow card. Has to be careful he doesn't talk himself into further trouble. Clearly blocking off Jordan Courtney Perkins. National team coach is in the house, Tony Popovic. Big game coming up next month, of course, in Melbourne against Saudi Arabia. And a trip to Bahrain. Wahim. Run out and behind for a goal kick. Into the first of 3 additional minutes at the end of the first half. Fair to say that Sydney are a value for their lead, Andy?
Yeah, I think so, but it's the narrowest of leads, and I think that's a fair representation. The Wanderers are right in this. It's been really tight, very tense, cleanly contested.
Wahim trying to get around the outside of Jonte Wook, not an easy thing to do.
And the Wanderers have shown they've got a couple of ideas on how to attack Sydney. And they've stretched the visitors' defence, had a couple of good sights at goal.
And of course they'll be attacking the red and black block end of the ground in the second half. Zach Sapsford has got the better of Hayden Matthews, and they may yet get something at the end of the first half, but an errant touch from Borrello allows Douglas Costa to do his defensive duty. Great players don't shirk that side of their responsibility. Milošević did it for years. Klimala seems to be moving fairly freely, despite that treatment some minutes ago. Space here for Douglas Costa. Goes for the early cross towards the near post and headed goalwards by Lolly. Straight at Medakovic, but the Wanderers were cut open again.
Yeah. Again, Caceres just gliding through midfield. Costa, dangerous whip on the ball. Deflection falls to Joe Lolly, whose header is a tame one, but on target at least.
Noise continues to reverberate around Combank Stadium. The game, by and large, is delivered. Maybe not yet for the Wanderers, but they've got a chance here. Borrello getting the better of Matthews, and the cross across the face is still alive off the head of Popovic. Surely, no, Aiden Hammond spoons the ball over the bar with what might be the last attack of the first half. What a chance for the Wanderers to get all square. And that is indeed half-time. And the Wanderers could so easily have gone in at 1-1, but Hammond couldn't keep his effort down. As it is, Joe Lolly's goal is the one that divides the two teams. It came after 16 minutes. Sydney FC have created quite a few more chances besides that. But Ufuk Talai's heart will have been beating a little bit faster in those closing seconds as Hammond spurned a glorious opportunity to get the Wanderers level. Plenty more to come in this one, you'd fancy, though. At the break in Parramatta, it's Western Sydney Wanderers 0, Sydney FC 1.
world's most unpredictable track. Who can conquer Phillip Island?
What a race!
The Australian MotoGP. Race day tomorrow, live on 10 and 10 Play.
Search SCA today to make a tax-deductible donation that helps all kids.
The RBB is here in numbers, but you know what? So is the Cove. What an atmosphere for the opening derby of the Isuzu UTE A-League season. A big weekend and indeed a big 45 minutes. It is the visitors, Sydney FC, who are 1 goal to the good at half-time. But that is not to say that the home side didn't have chances of their own. Neve Owens here alongside Andy Harper. Harps, what an atmosphere we had in the first half. And Sydney FC, as we expected, attacked with that fluency that we have seen under Ufi Tale, and Douglas Costa, a really big part of that.
Yeah, and I think when we got to half-time, the difference between the teams, one chance taken when the Wanderers stopped defending for that moment. Either side of that, they've had
both had chances to score, and as maybe the heat goes out of the game a little bit in the second half, because the energy expended so far has been so acute, we might see Douglas Costa getting into more space. He's contributed really well for his team though. Great experience, just easing his way into A-League life, making sure he links with his teammates, very, very economical with his passes, and showing to me that he's got the appetite. When he gets the opportunity and the team puts him in the right place, he'll do his thing. Wanderers, how they counter that? Well, I've been really impressed with their game plan in the first half. The only thing missing has been the finish at the end, and geez, they came close. It should really be 1-1.
What about Juan Mata then? How soon do we see him injected into this game?
Well, it's completely dependent upon the heat and how much it goes out of the game. The expectation, if he wasn't going to start, was that Alen Stajcic waits for the game to lose a little bit of intensity so that Juan Mata can enter the fray and start doing some things. I can't wait for that to happen, actually, because this is a bit of a missing piece from what the Wanderers are doing, but it does depend on how much petrol Sydney actually expend and what Stajcic feels Juan Mata can contribute. But this has been one of the better derbies over the last number of years. We had a cracker last year, but this one's set up beautifully. Both teams, I think, acquitting themselves really well.
Time for a very quick break. You'll have the commentary team on the other side.
Welcome back to Parramatta. Second half about to get underway. As you can see, Wanderers have made a change at the break. Zach Sapsford replaced by Bojidar Kraev, who of course arrived in the off-season from Wellington Phoenix. I wonder whether that whack to the face that Zach Sapsford picked up in the first place, or the first half I should say, had any bearing on Alen Stajcic's decision. But whatever the reason, Bojidar Kraev, of course, a very experienced, a very talented A-League campaigner. And here he is, quickly involved in the action as the Wanderers look to turn things around. As for Sydney FC, it's as you were at the start of a very busy week for Ufuk Talay's team. They are on the plane to Japan first thing tomorrow morning, where they will play Sanfrecce Hiroshima in the Asian Champions League 2 in midweek. And from there, via a flight to Tokyo and then Hong Kong, I'm told. They have to fly to Auckland next weekend, and then Brisbane the week after that. So clocking up the air miles, but they are in front here. And up to the Wanderers to try and turn things around. Otherwise, they will suffer their 5th home defeat in a row, going back to the back end of last season. Several debutants on either team, of course, at the start of play. Nearly always the case in round one for most teams in the A-League. Here's one of those new faces, Jong Tae-wook, who perhaps had a little bit of a nervy start to life in Australia's top domestic competition. The Wanderers have turned the ball over casually here. Thankfully for the red and black, so too of Sydney FC. It's going to be beyond the reach of Brandon Borrello. you make of the change Alan Stajic has made at half-time, Andy? It's Bozidar Kraev on for Zach Sapsford.
Well, Kraev comes to the club with a lot of quality. We watched him at Wellington last year and just winning the foul there. He's a very, very, very capable customer. I think one or two injury troubles in the preparation for this one, and of course Sapsford copped that whack right on the beak and maybe feeling a little bit dusty after that. Or maybe it's time for Kraev, having sat out the first 45 minutes. He's a good player. Expect him certainly to contribute to the Wanderers' cause.
So the Wanderers attacking the red and black block end of the ground. Brandon Borello looking to place it. I think that was going wide, but relatively comfortable take for Andrew Redmayne. Gives us the chance to go down to Neve Owens, who's sidelined for us as we watch the replay of that free kick again. Neve.
Thanks, Simon. Got a word from both coaches at the break. For Ufi Patale, he encouraged his team to really be calm in possession. He wants them to continue playing through the lines and really pressing high, as we saw in the first half, not giving the Wanderers any time on the ball. He told them they needed to be wary of balls in behind, and that's an interesting one because that is exactly what Stadge said in the other sheds. He wants to get Sydney FC in transition. He wants the Wanderers to execute that final pass.
Thanks, Neve. Sydney not quite able to execute the final pass there. Joe Lolly slightly behind Patrick Klimala, who has reappeared for the second half despite that injury scare. They'll have worked on him during the break, no doubt. This is Leo Senna. Ryan Grant getting the motor running down the right. It's not a particularly good ball, but Joe Lolly's kept it alive. He's trying to go through two defenders and he was obstructed by Clisby right on the edge of the box. Clisby's not happy.
Well, Joe Lolly, it's a pretty much a trademark. It's no surprise, but just so effective with this dropping of the shoulder, taking the ball with the outside of the left foot. Very difficult to counter. Jim Clisby reaching the laws of the game and attempting to do so just then. Costa standing over the ball. Does he go direct from here? Wouldn't surprise.
Yep, not beyond the realms of possibility with talent such as his. The Sydney FC end of the ground, if you like, where most of their fans are congregated. Stadium holds its breath and Douglas Costa whips it in towards the near post. And it's seen behind safely by Alex Bonatic for a corner.
Well, that was a remark, if you could call it a wall, that was a remarkable setup from the Wanderers. It looks like a wall I'd built.
It was almost inviting the shot, wasn't it?
Completely opened up the lane into that near post. Maybe that's what they wanted, keeper to snuff it out, but I don't know, I wouldn't be backing against Costa from a similar situation again.
Here's Anas Wahim. Flicked off the head of Matthews, but away from goal. Lolly. Out again by Bonatic. Douglas Costa might have a go here. He does. Comfortable take for Vidakovic.
Feigned the first time shot and then set up the space nicely.
It's not a particularly confident touch by Matthews. He's going after Hammond to try and atone. Hammond's backed into a corner, dealing with three Sydney FC defenders. And help was a little slow to arrive there for Aidan Hammond. Kamala beaten by the bounce. And Brillante for the Wanderers. Milanovic. Clare went for the early cross and Barello stuck out a boot and retrieved it. Clare was probably going to be offside.
He got in the way badly there, Brandon Barello. Maybe trying to take too much responsibility, but Milanovic wanted to hit that first time. He deferred to the seniority of his captain, who then passed the ball promptly to an offside player.
Barello had that injury-ravaged campaign, of course, last year. The season before, he was almost unstoppable. In the sense, he's still trying to refine that sort of form. Costa, side of the boot, very nearly paid off, but well defended by Jong Tae-wook. Clare, square by Brillante, Shikluda, and they sprung the offside trap this time, but Redmayne with really good anticipation.
And again, that ball over the top, and Stajic spoke about it. We observed it in the first half. It's a really good ploy. Quite clearly, they should have entered the sheds at 1-1. It's an unfortunate miss by Hammond, and a bad one. They're really full of their opportunities here, the Wanderers. They've got great body language. They're working hard.
Little coming together between Popovic and Clare. Not enough for Alex King to blow the whistle. And maybe the marquee man's big moment is imminent. Juan Mata going through last-minute instructions. Redmayne, meantime, closed down by Shikluda, who asked the red and black block to lift the noise levels. Those balls over the top that the Wanderers have had some joy with. Nobody will be able to execute a pass better, you'd imagine, than Juan Mata, particularly in a game of this magnitude. Clisby showed too much of it to Lolly. And the pace to get away from Barello. Shikluda. He's under all sorts of pressure, and he's perhaps asking again why there wasn't help forthcoming a little earlier. No! Caceres. Barello picks up the loose ball and opens it up. Gabriel Clare, or at least that was the intention, but Courtney Perkins with the intervention. Costa's layoff was not the best. Here's Kryev. And Kryev again. And Barello, surely, Hammond! This time, he's had two sighters, but he buries that one, and the Wanderers are all square. Aidan Hammond.
Well, it's great tonic this for the Western Sydney Wanderers. Their play, their endeavour has deserved a goal. They might have had one on the cusp of half-time. But on the Harvey Norman replay, we see that correction is now made by Hammond. But it's great poise in the attack. Kryev does beautifully just to stall things, to suck in a couple of players. Look at the poise, look at the time he takes, and then rolls the ball on. Little fortuitous there, perhaps, as the ball falls to Hammond. But it's a really assured finish after fluffing his lines at the end of the first half. He makes no mistake with that one. Really clever from Kryev. Maybe some claims for a penalty thereafter on Barello, but it's not required. And Juan Mata ready to enter the fray with the scores level.
Well, that's brought the derby back to life. Just his second goal in the Air League. He got one against Melbourne Victory at the back end of last season in a 4-3 win. Now, this one will mean a whole lot more to him. And Ufuk Talay's response is immediate off the bench. He's withdrawn Anas Wahim and introduced Corey Holman. No Juan Mata as yet. May well be that Alan Stajic, now that they've got that equaliser, just holds fire on that for a little while. But good to see a player of such pedigree and reputation up there celebrating with his fans and teammates. A little bit of a loose one from Redmayne, but it's worked out okay for Sydney. Caceres. Lolly, touched by Costa. Costa again. Lolly. It's lovely football by Sydney. Douglas Costa. Well held by Vidakovic.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Just so efficient. Touch, pass, move, cushion the ball. Lolly to Caceres. He knows exactly where Costa is. And he sets his side on goal and it nearly squeezes under Vidakovic, who does very well, the big fella, to get down close to his body and snuff the chance out. Now it's the Wanderers away.
And they've got their tails up at the moment. Here's the goal scorer, Aidan Hammond, trying to trick his way past Holman. Out for Krayev, who fires in the cross. Milanovic trying to rise. It drops here for Borello at the top of the box. It's very crowded in there. And look who was there to calm things down for Sydney. As the Wanderers again prepare to introduce their marquee man off the bench. Juan Mata is ready. And everybody else ready with their mobile phones to take the picture of the big moments. Not just shy of the hour mark. This derby is beautifully balanced now. The Wanderers have found a way back into it through sheer force of will. Holman. Matthews. Grant for Costa. Costa again, pulling all the strings for Sydney. Holman. Costa's found room inside the box again. Oh, look at that. That's absolutely wonderful skills. And down goes Clamala, Sydney FC. And particularly their fans appeal for a penalty. Alex King not interested. Clamala stays down. Play will go on. VAR will look at that, of course. Sydney not interested in stopping, and Ryan Grant steals in behind. VAR has cleared that penalty shout, we are informed. The Wanderers have not cleared their lines as yet. And Klamala still prone inside the Wanderers penalty area. Sydney FC confident enough to play with 10. Now play will stop for a foul.
Oh, what beautiful football. In the lead-up on a couple, they're really starting. Costa inspired. Look at that beautiful shift. Poor old John Berlanti. Where's he gone? It's like the will-o'-the-wisp.
And in fairness, John Table played the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's all been cleared, no problem. What lovely passages of play from Sydney.
Well, here we go. Sorry, Andy. The big moments. Western Sydney Wanderers marquee man Juan Mata to replace the goal scorer, Aidan Hammond. And listen to the roar around Combank.
That's a decent welcome. Only bettered by his arrival at Sydney Airport when the army being turned up, which I witnessed by happenstance in person. A big welcome for a great player. Let's see what he can deliver.
And both marquee men now on the field. Played against each other before, by the way, in the for Champions League in 2012. Headed on, oh, it's 2-1 Sydney FC! In the blink of an eye, Patrick Klimala, who had a penalty appeal turned down some minutes ago, has stolen in ahead of the defence and stolen back Sydney's advantage.
And that's Sydney's welcome to the A-League for one, Mata. Costa touches on the Harvey Norman replay, whips in a wicked ball. And the deflection, or the helping on first, really threw the cat amongst the pigeons. And then it's Klimala, who's just hovering by instinct, as all great strikers do, to glance the ball past Vidakovic. And almost as soon as the Wanderers have clawed their way back level, Sydney skip clear again.
Well, it's a goal on A-League debut for the striker from Poland. And the Wanderers, who just got back in the game, left poleaxed. And credit to Hayden Matthews, who got that little flick on at the near post. And from that point on, the Wanderers were in big trouble. Well, this is really building into what could be a classic derby. The Wanderers have to come from behind again. They've got Juan Mata on the pitch to help them. He's not played an awful lot of football in the last 12 months, just 10 minutes in his stint with Vissel Kobe in the J-League. That was back in September 2023. He has done an awful lot of work in training to try and get himself ready. As mentioned at the start, Harps, his father has flown all the way from Spain to be here to watch him as well. This is Clare. Wanderers get the whistle, and Douglas Costa preventing the free kick from being taken. Seen players booked for less, but well, there we go, yellow card. I was about to say he's got away with it, but he hasn't. We had a chat this week, Harps, didn't we, with new head of referees, John Moss. And, the brief is very much to try and let the game flow. That's not to say you can get away with nasty fouls or time wasting. Costa certainly didn't. Wanderers seeing off the first part of the press. It's good football. And there's a foul on Leo Senna. Pendulum swings back in favour of Sydney FC. But the Wanderers have it in them to come from behind a second time.
Well, they've not shown any signs of buckling otherwise. I think they'll be disappointed with the manner in which they conceded the first goal. The second was just one of those things. Sydney managed to equalise on the back of a few really delightful passages of play.
Douglas Costa at the heart of most of them. Caceres driving forward, held up by Brillante. Kraev. Bonnetique comfortable enough in his young goalkeeper to play the ball back to him. Distribution as well by Vidakovic. Is Juan Mata. Champions League game, by the way, that he and Douglas Costa played against each other. Costa was with Shakhtar Donetsk then, Mata with Chelsea. And Costa's team won out by 2-1, which is the scoreline here tonight. But still plenty of football to be played. Lolly, Costa let it run. Klimalo, it's a great save by Vidakovic. Terrific reflex stop by the young keeper. Maybe to keep Wanderers in the derby. Here's Mata. Threads it back for Kraev. Good challenge. Clement too by Holman. And the space is starting to open up. Here's Joe Lolly. One-on-one with Jong Tae-wook. It's Lolly. Just seemed to lose his footing at the crucial moment, Joe Lolly.
Yeah, with a bit heavy touch when he went to shoot. Just racked for a minute or so. The game still within reach for the Wanderers, but it mightn't have been. Lovely lead from Costa. Klimala getting the shot on target. Just a quite brilliant save from Vidakovic. Joe Lolly might have finished it then, adding to his first half goal. And a heavy touch when he cut inside. Played into the hands of Jong Tae-wook. The game remains in the balance, albeit with Sydney having edged ahead, but the Wanderers a very good account of themselves so far, and you wouldn't rule them out from here. When Sydney get in that flow, Caceres driving through midfield, centre, Costa, Klimala at the end of it in the centre forward position. There's a lot of firepower.
It's clever again by Costa. Almost seemed to have eyes in the back of his head there to pick out Corey Holman. Caceres back with Popovic. Going to turn back and find his central defensive partner, Hayden Matthews. Bounce has beaten Brillante. Caceres again looking to drive forward. Lolly. It's too hard, too high.
I think he'll be on balance frustrated with some of his offerings tonight, Joe Lolly. Well, that's the game. That's the derby there.
Save.
Isn't it a wonderful save, Simon?
Used every inch of that 6'6" frame. He's the man he's replacing in goal tonight, Lawrence Thomas, who's going to be out for a while with an ankle injury. A club captain during the off-season. It's a bit of a high boot there from Corey Holman on Shikluna, which gives the Wanderers a free kick. Two games to come tomorrow in the Isuzu UTE A-League men's competition to round out the opening weekend. Macarthur against Perth and Wellington Phoenix against Western United. Now Milanovic in behind. Borello waits in the middle, but the ball doesn't arrive. It's going to be a Wanderers corner though.
Well, that's a good sequence from the Wanderers there. Firstly, the athleticism to win the header.
And Mata went quickly.
Bad idea.
Well, that would have been the back page headline, wasn't it?
When the ball over the top from Mata for Milanovic was a peach.
Well, we're into the last 20 minutes of a derby that has ebbed and flowed from one team to the other. But it's Sydney's to lose. got a bit of a problem here. It's Gabriel Clerc. Might just be cramp. Here's that second Sydney goal again. That touch from Matthews is so important and clever from Klimala.
Yeah, you know, maybe without Klimala, Dakovic might have still had something to do from the Hayden Matthews header, but if he's not a 10 to 15 goal striker, Klimala, we're not watching it. He's got all, and he's going to have the service. Well, that's one of the key points.
Well, the last Polish signing for Sydney FC worked out all right. Adrian Izajewski. A few years ago, what a player he was. Change is imminent for the Wanderers. Dean Pelikanos, a local boy who said that this week the derby means so much to him. And looks like we might be able to see an A-League debut as well for Ben Holliday, who impressed so much in Morden City ex-Chelsea's Australia Cup run and earned himself a move to full-time football. Be quite the quantum leap. Morden City ex-Chelsea, no disrespect to them, but to then going on to share a field with Juan Mata in a Sydney derby. That's what football dreams are made of. Here's the first of those changes. 23-year-old Dean Pelikanos about to make his A-League debut. It's actually his second spell with the Wanderers. He was with the club as a junior, but then dropped into the NPL with St George and latterly Rockdale Illendon. Alan Stajic actually coached Pelikanos during his school days, but that change has been delayed just for a moment. A bit of confusion here.
Well, I think the cramp that Gabriel Clerc started to suffer meant that it was his number to go up. Scicluna will go to right fullback. Plenty of running still to be done in this game, says Stajic.
Ben Holliday just has to wait his turn for the moment. Here's Clisby. It's a good header won by Popovic. Into the last quarter of an hour. Leo Senna. Costa. Courtney Perkins can have a go here. Charged down by Kryev. John Tae-Wook's intervention. Sydney will go again through Lolly. Little angle ball for Caceres. Looking for the angle. Again, John Tae-Wook in the right place at the right time. And out of Scicluna.
Well, that cramp for Gabriel Clerc and the treatment required has just taken a little bit of the sting out of the Wanderers for the time being. Not what they wanted. They had some good momentum.
Sydney FC fans don't care about that. Coming here in great numbers tonight. Perhaps in part, of course, because they don't have a home game at Allianz until the 10th of November. Stadium unavailable in the opening few weeks of the season, which means that rather hellish travel schedule for Tale and his team. Max Burgess being readied, it seems. Popovic. challenge adjudged to have gone through the back of Borello. Wide by Pelikanos, but it's too hot to handle for Shikluna. To readjust to that right fullback role. Holman. Sydney in no rush. Caceres. Holman. Klimala. Grant for Costa. Costa again. Popovic losing out. Oh, and Borello's been chopped down. No. Foul. Well, to be fair, Alex King had a much closer view of it than I did, but Borello certainly felt the weight of Courtney Perkins' challenge. Let's have another look.
I think Alex King was right there.
No, that's a foul.
That's a miss from the ref. He's had a great game, Alex King. He's had a great game, but he missed that one. VAR can't intervene. It's not a violent conduct. It's not a red card situation.
Wanderers just feeling a little aggrieved. Players taking the chance, a little break to take some fluids on boards. It's a long old off-season in Australia.
Very interesting. I mean, if the Gabriel Clerc cramped and the subsequent flattening of the Wanderers' output is a marker, very interesting discussion point, because they've got to rouse themselves here. They've done well enough to get something out of the game, done well enough to send their fans home with something.
Just under 10 minutes plus stoppages.
What have they got left in the tank?
Clisby. Milanovic, who's been perhaps a little quiet by his standards that he set last season. Floated out by Vidakovic towards Shikluna. Tidied up for Sydney by Popovic. Throw in Western Sydney, who go to Western United in round 2 before a pair of home games against Adelaide United and the Newcastle Jets. Adelaide, who of course have the bye this weekend. Shikluna. It's a throw off Courtney Perkins. Wants to take it quickly. He's taking it from the wrong place. Challenge on Borello's side. Alex King has not missed much tonight.
No, I think he's had a terrific game. In fact, all the actors have performed tonight.
Clipped forward by Bonatig. Push and header by Clisby. Here's Milanovic. Hayden Matthews well positioned. One back by Mata. Chance for Borello! Well, the red and black block were on their feet. But it whistled past the post.
Beautiful little roll inside from Juan Mata. That's a good effort. Redmayne scrambling and beaten, but the ball just outside that right-hand post.
Now changes of foot for both teams here. Max Burgess is going to replace Leo Senna, who's had a very tidy game on debut.
Excellent player.
And it's going to be a double change for the Wanderers. Marcus Antonsen and Ben Holliday standing by. Antonsen will replace Brandon Borrello at the point of the attack. And it's going to be an A-League debut for Ben Holliday. But again, just not quite yet. He's been waiting a while. Twice he's been summoned. And they've not quite got the board right or something. Now Dylan Chicluna wanders off on the far side. And it is finally an A-League debut for Ben Holliday. Who attracted interest from one or two A-League outfits on the back of those cup exploits. The Wanderers, his ultimate destination.
He finds himself coming on at left fullback, not where we saw much of him at the cup. But maybe it's with the brief to be an attacking left fullback to redress this scoreline from the Wanderers at home. Game 1 of the season. Arch rivals come across town, and at the moment they got the points in the bag.
Let's see what Juan Mata can do with this free kick. Not much is the answer. Straight down the throat of Andrew Redmayne. Put that down to a bit of rustiness, shall we? Marcus Antonsen on at the point of the attack. The Swede made a good start to life in Australia, but certainly tailed off towards the end of the last A-League season. As Wanderers fans hoping he can find his first A-League goal in 15 matches to salvage something out of this Sydney derby. Him or somebody else, as Kraev wins a free kick. The sands of time starting to run a little short for Western Sydney.
Yeah, it's not looking kind, the clock. They've had the one shot on goal since they lost the momentum of the match. And again, I've bookmarked it with the Klur stoppage. Hang on, this all on Gabriel Klur, please. Let's make that clear. But that is when I put the bookmark in. They've just been able to attack the goal once since then. They haven't been able to break stride otherwise. And they're running out of time, the Wanderers.
Thompson with a good touch, had to make that stick, and he did. Milanovic. And they find a bit of late inspiration here, Western Sydney. Here's Ben Holliday. And he's fouled, and the colour of the card is red on Max Burgess, who's only been on the park a matter of moments, and he's sent off. And Sydney FC late on, after looking so comfortable, now perhaps potentially have a bit of a problem.
I think this is Max Burgess's first contribution, bizarrely. Now this will be checked by VAR. We saw in Gosford last night an automatic red card being overturned. I'm not sure this one's going to be. No, that's red. Yeah. No question. Not even.
It's on the shin.
Well done, Alex King. He didn't need the help.
No doubt about it. And again, as part of that referee's briefing this week, we were told if it's on the foot, then it's probably okay, provided not with excessive force, of course. But if it's above the ankle, then the player has to go. Max Burgess has seen red.
Well, this sets up the last few minutes with a huge opportunity for the Wanderers. Juan Mata, can he deliver from the set piece? Can a teammate? And all eyes at this point are looking at Jong Tae-wook to see if he can rise and meet some Mata magic.
It's almost now or never for Western Sydney Wanderers. They've still got a few minutes, but not too many of them. Here's Pelikanos. Side steps away from Lolly. It's brought the Wanderers fans back to life. They were looking a little glum before that. This is Clisby. Mata. Out again by Courtney Perkins. Look at that for control from Juan Mata. Lovely stuff by the Spaniards. And it turned the Wanderers a corner. A rousing finale to the derby.
Well, as Juan Mata takes centre stage, Costa takes it to the turf to try and slow things down, because he's sensed that the Wanderers have got some belief, a sense of opportunity and some intensity back.
Well, Max Burgess can only stand and watch and perhaps wonder why he went in so hard. Douglas Costa's going to take his leave. He's not played an awful lot of football as well, perhaps understandably. Ufuk Talai's gone for defensive reinforcements in the shape of Joel King, but he's been terrific tonight, Douglas Costa. Here's Juan Mata with a corner. Will the Wanderers have the final word? Jong Tae-wook got a piece of it and then headed out. And there's a bit of a clash of heads here. Alexander Popovic goes down. The Wanderers fans don't like it. They feel it's play acting. And I think there was a little bit of contact between the two heads. The replay will be instructive. And of course, this running down of the clock will suit Sydney FC to a T.
Well, of course, the referee will be obliged to add this time on, but it's not the same, is it, as the momentum that was building for the Wanderers, and they could have set the ball and attacked the Sydney penalty area again. I mean, he was worth the price tonight, wasn't he, Costa?
Terrific. And more to come. Showed his pedigree tonight. Maybe just feeling his hamstring a little bit. Here's the Paramount Plus player index. Joe Lolly is top of the shop, Aidan Hammond in second, and then three Sydney players rounding out the top five. Douglas Costa only good enough for fifth halves.
Don't ask me to crunch those numbers, Simon. I was happily leaving that all to you.
He set the ball rolling, of course, for Sydney FC in the first half, Joe Lolly. Despite Aidan Hammond's equaliser. Patrick Klimala's goal, at the moment at least. And Sydney on course for 3 points, but 7 additional minutes. There might be a little bit more than that.
Yeah, well, the first minute of those has gone already.
Here's Holiday. It's past one defender, it's a good ball in. And Marcus Antonsen climbed highest, but couldn't direct the ball goalwards.
Well, Ben Holiday hasn't mucked around coming off the bench. Attracted a nasty tackle to get a player sent off. He's delivered a beauty there. Antonsen rising high. And maybe Kraev, if there's some communication opportunities here. Kraev coming in behind Antonsen.
Andrew Redmayne booked for time wasting as you watch that replay. He's being told to get on with it by Alex King. He's copping plenty from the red and black block behind him. quite as much as veteran Janjetovic copped in this fixture quite a few years ago. Klimala dragged to the floor.
Well, that's outstanding use of the body from Klimala. Team wilting. And he just gets his body in the way, engages the defender.
Caceres from the free kick. How much ambition does Sydney have to go for a third goal to really kill off the Wanderers? Not much by the looks of it. It's almost like he was on the futsal court there, Anthony Caceres.
I love watching him play. How he's never been capped. I've raised this before, but how Anthony Caceres has never been capped has got me completely beat.
A bit of competition in the position that he plays, of course. Yeah, Luke Bratton got his first cap at the age of 34, so there's maybe time for him yet. He's a couple of years his junior, Anthony Caceres. It's a good angle ball out towards Grant, and Sydney FC have a corner, which at this stage of the game is almost as good as a goal.
Isn't it? It's superb from Sydney. Great poise, experience, and Caceres in the middle of it all. That's not just because of it looks like he's playing futsal, Simon. It's the time is doing it. He's been very athletic tonight. He's had a great game, but at that moment, just when someone needed to start pulling some strings and take some time out of the clock, get the game up in the Wanderers' end of the field, secure passes, Caceres the puppeteer.
Here he is again. This time it'll be a goal kick, and the Wanderers have got to get the ball upfield and quick. Time is of the essence for the red and black. Against the 10 men now, of course, of Sydney FC. Brillante looking for Clisby, not quite finding it. Kraev. Throw in Sydney FC. If they are to win here today, Sydney, they're taking their time over the throw again. Perhaps bigger challenge awaits them during the week in the Asian Champions League 2. It's the current J-League leaders, Sanfrecce Hiroshima. Antonsen will go after this one, and Redmayne came out a long way. He's helped out by Matthews. Wanderers not quite done yet. And it comes from Mata. Here's Milanovic. Big chance.
You know, and you've alluded to it, Simon. He's been good tonight, but not electric like last year. And his form last year, he gets the angle on this header. It's got to go back across Redmayne. Out to his left-hand post, and just not quite there so far. First game of the season. He's not in the dock, but what a great chance. Now for Sydney to finish it here.
Here's Klimala. Turns straight into Ben Holiday. They've almost played 6 at the additional 7 minutes, but I fancy there might be another minute at least to be added on top of that. So perhaps still time for the Western Sydney Wanderers. Brillante. Mata. Jack Clisby playing on the right. Mata's going to get there. To Clisby. To wait to get the ball on his preferred left peg. Ball's not out yet for Sydney FC. Back in it goes. Antonsen stretching, and he just couldn't make the connection.
Yeah, and not a lot of football for Antonsen. I don't think he needed to stretch there. I think he needed to keep the run going, run through the ball. You just lose your bearings, haven't had a lot of football, come off the bench. It's a desperate throw of the leg, but I reckon if he doesn't break stride, I think if he keeps going, he rounds the ball up. There's a potential yield there for the Wanderers as we enter the final stages shortly, but maybe some more time to be added on. Sydney have taken a while to get the ball back in from throw-ins and goal kicks.
We're into the 8th minute of stoppage time. It might all be on this attack for the Wanderers. It's broken up though by Grant. Lolly nods it forward. And Klimala will surely head for the corner and try and run down the clock. Lolly takes over, much to the delight of those Sydney FC fans behind him. Do the Wanderers have enough time to get the ball forward? Clisby in possession. Here's Pelikanos. Has Holiday outside him. Can he find a good cross? It's going to be a corner. And there will probably be just about enough time for the delivery. But surely the Wanderers' last chance now. And up comes Tristan Vidakovic. Well, we mentioned he was 6'6". Why not? That really would be a story. It's Holiday's delivery. Oh, and headed out of Redmayne's hands by Klimala. Bit of confusion, and the Wanderers get another go.
What a great chance now for the Wanderers. And Klimala, good commitment for the ball, but a moment that really Redmayne should have dominated.
Mata's corner. Vidakovic trying to get on the end of it. And Alex King says that will do. Some late wobbles for Sydney FC, but they've done it. A third consecutive derby success for Ufuk Talay's team. Their 4th in a row here in Parramatta, as the Sky Blues ensure Alan Stadjik's debut is a miserable one. Work to do for the Wanderers, but derby day joy for Sydney, for whom Joe Lolly got the opening goal and gave them a half-time lead. Aidan Hammond got the Wanderers back level, but Patrick Klimala won it with a 63rd minute header. And this city is sky blue once again tonight. Max Burgess sent off late on for Sydney, which gave the Wanderers the numerical advantage, but they weren't quite able to find a conclusive opportunity. That's the way it finished at Combank. Western Sydney Wanderers 1, Sydney FC 2.
Yeah, amazing. You know, great victory. You know, the atmosphere inside the stadium was incredible. It's what we want to play in these sort of games, and it was very tough. It was difficult. We had to grind it out in the end, but yeah, to finally get on the score sheet in this game and to get the win is so sweet. Yeah, I mean, we got some real top quality players, and you know, you can see how dangerous we are, and you know, we got some incredible players, and you know, it's great for me to add quality to the team, but you know, it's still my job to create. That's what I'm paid to play, and you know, score and create and do what I can for the team. But yeah, to have, you know, this front line, I think it's a worry for most A-League teams. Yeah, it always helps having those competitive games. Obviously, nothing